Hello, my name is Stan, and today I'll be showing you a little something about this cool data tool, Omniscope. So what is Omniscope? Omniscope is a data visualization, data reporting, data analytics tool, which should be in any young's repertoire going out into the business world these days. Data is everywhere in our society, being collected by all these social media platforms. Anyone who can get their hands on data, they're doing it at the moment. And so wouldn't it be cool to have a tool that can make sense of this data, that can gather this data, that can blend it, change this data? So this is what Omniscope is. This is a blank Omniscope. So this is what it looks like when you first open up the application. And to get started, you're just going to click on this blue plus button at the top and drag out your input original data source. So for us, we're going to take out a demo data source. We're going to use bond prices. And next step is always click on this blue plus and just choose what you want to do to your data. So for us, we want to start to prepare our data, and we're going to take out a field organizer to show us what are the fields and do we want to change anything? Do we want to edit whether this is seen as a text field or is it a date field? This is how you would edit and change your data using these preparation blocks. We have analytics blocks as well, where you can do regressions, predictions to predict future outcomes, and even output blocks to remove the data into external sources. But for us, we're just going to take out a report block for now, and just so you can see very easily, once you've prepared the data from the original source, you can very easily create a report block and visualize what you've just created. So here we're taking a look at a workflow for electric trucks of a supply chain company to other clients, trying to prepare the data and create a report that is legible to all parties. So what you do is you start with your file inputs, file input blocks. Here we have travel data, location data, and weather data. This is raw from the source. And we need to perform some operations in order to make this legible and easier to understand. Once we've cleaned up each separate file input, we can merge them together to create one single data set in this merged block. And then we can move on to creating a report. So we connect the report block, and then we can take a look at the electric trucks report. If we move over to the report tab now, we can take a look at different reports that we've made in the workflow and just select the one we want through this dropdown. If we start with the KPIs, this shows kind of a dashboard of the data that we just prepared in the workflow. We have the 4 different truck models here at the top with their distance covered in kilometers, as well as a line graph showcasing each of these different truck models, Model D, C, B, and A, as different colors. We can see that Model AA traveled the least amount of kilometers if we compare all the trucks, but in October, it's seen it traveled the most. So it might be something interesting there to glean from that. At the bottom here, if we take a look, we have 4 pie charts, each showing different indicators. We have weight, volume, revenue, and kilometers covered. Here we have the different truck models as well, the split of different truck models. Revenue could be an interesting one. Perhaps the reason the revenue for the orange truck is the least is also because they travel the least amount of kilometers. We can use the filters on the right here to filter what we want to look at. So we were looking at truck model before, but if we want to look at the drivers themselves, the companies, we can also select driver, and we can take a look at the different companies involved. Moving down to another report on the list, let's look at delivery map. So upon selection, it will show us only the electric truck routes that we have selected. And we can either select the ID travel, the truck model, the driver, even the delivery dates to see exactly what was going on in that selection that you would make. So if we wanted to know exactly what happened on the 24th here, we just select that date and we have color-coded each electric truck route based on their truck model. Here we have an example of an Omniscope report for truck routes by a supply chain management company. These are pallets being delivered to customers. And we're trying to measure whether the trucks were on time, whether they had to stop for traffic, or whether they were late for customers. And this could be used in any company to try and determine the revenue, the profit, the loss, the margin of error. And what's cool about this report, this visual report, is that a user can interact with it entirely from the app web page itself. So if I were only interested in the Morrison's deliveries, I would just have to click Morrison's on the tile view, and all the truck routes would light up on the map view. The advantage of this is that I can play with this and customize it in exactly the way that I wish, and try to understand the management decisions that I'm willing to take based on this information.
If we take a look at one last demo here, I'm going to show you guys that Omniscope can also act as a separate app in of itself. These reports can act as standalone apps and can show very interesting things. For example, here we have the recent COVID-19 pandemic showing some stats, and the heat map shows the concentration of COVID-19 cases over the globe. And you can also search for the countries here on the filters on the side.
Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.